Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
It's the Terran Lab Show.
It's the Terran Lab Show.
Where the topic of discussion is you.
So let's go.
Hello everyone, how are you? This is the Terran Lamp Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We come to you to share with you the incredible stories of those in our community who are making a difference. Each episode we will share with you health and wellness journeys of those around us who are shaping our world. And we've teamed up with Chicago News Weekly to do that. So we are here today with Sheanah Rivers. Sheanah. Hi.
Hello.
Sheanah is a Chicago-based healing arts specialist, licensed massage therapist, Reiki teacher, sound healer, and holistic coach who helps people remember who the
F
they are. Her work sits at the intersection of clinical body work and ancient healing wisdom, drawing on over 15 years of hands-on practice, traditional Chinese medicine, astrology, human design, and somatic work, and sound therapy. She has a gift of making ancient wisdom feel like it's your cool aunt that she shares casually. Sheanah, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, I want to get into your work, but one thing I was telling you before is I really like what you do, and I want you to explain this to people. So explain to people what you do, but also, like you said, you really help people who realize who they are. Mm-hmm. And that to me touched me because it's not just about the outer healing, the physical healing, but the inner healing too. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in the healing work.
So I became a massage therapist a while back. I knew I wanted to do something different. Like I knew eventually I wanted to do radio and television.
Okay.
But I went to school for communications, and then I was like, everybody that I knew that was in radio and television didn't necessarily have a degree.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know that I really need a degree. So I dropped out of college, and then I was like, well, let me find something that I can take somewhere in the future because I didn't want to live in South Carolina forever. So I studied massage therapy, and then I was like, oh, I actually enjoy massage therapy. So I started practicing more massage from 2011 through like 2015.
Okay.
And then 2015, I was like experiencing chronic sinus infections that just were a nightmare to deal with. And I was introduced, like modern medicine wasn't working.
Okay.
And it was acupuncture that helped me get some relief from it.
Yes.
And so the acupuncture made me see more of the correlation of the mind-body connection, which we learned in massage school, but I hadn't personally dealt with it to my knowledge until I dealt with it. So then 2017, I learned Reiki, and I started integrating it into my massages with my clients.
Okay.
And then when I was doing Reiki on my clients, they were like, I don't know what you did last time.
Yeah.
But do that again. They were sleeping better. They were like knocked out on my table. I was like, hey,
So tell us what Reiki is. Like, I mean, I've heard of it too, and I kind of know like what happens during Reiki, but what is it?
It's an energy healing practice. You've probably heard it called all kinds of names. People in the South say laying hands.
Okay.
There's videos of people doing all kinds of manipulation with their hands and stuff. And it's energy healing. So I tell people it helps heal on a physical, emotional, spiritual, and energetic level.
Okay. And how do you feel like that? I'm just totally curious for myself. Do you feel like Reiki is something that can be, I mean, I kind of feel like, can it be taught? Like, sometimes I'm like, could I learn how to do Reiki?
Yeah, anybody can learn
or
Reiki.
do I have to, I feel like I have to have a special connection of some sort.
Anybody can learn Reiki. And
Okay.
because the thing about Reiki also is it helped me learn how to be a lot more intentional with everything.
Got it.
And I tell people it's like prayer on steroids.
Okay.
So imagine if you are praying to everybody you're interacting with. You're sending prayers to events before you go to them.
Okay.
You're saying prayers, before you eat, like whatever.
Okay.
Like you're just adding another layer of intention.
Okay. And tell us about the somatic work, because I think that's something else, right? So tell us, or is it?
It's still that like mind-body connection.
Okay. Because I think what I think is interesting about mind and body is, like I was telling you before, is I think people work on one or the other. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I realized even with myself, maybe I worked on mind but didn't work on body. Or maybe I worked on body but didn't work on mind.
Or you just didn't have anybody to bridge those two together as you were working on them to show like that they were connected.
Right. And that's kind of what you share with us, right? Like to show us how that they're connected. Can you share with us about like maybe how, and is there a way to say how you do that? Or is it just something like you were, again, is it taught? I mean, share some, because it's kind of like this realm for me, like over there, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to connect my own dots with it. So,
for instance, when I was in massage school, we did learn a lot of these things already, but it didn't hit me until later, right?
Yeah.
Once the information and process that I'd studied. But as I started studying Reiki, and you learn about chakras, right?
Right. Yes, I've heard that.
That's when I started bridging those two. So I noticed a lot of the physical pain that my clients were dealing with. The emotions that were behind it had a lot to do with the chakra imbalances.
Okay.
So then when I started putting those two together, then it was easier for me to explain to my clients, like, hey, you have this going on. So like, these are the emotions behind that. Like, does that resonate? And they say, oh, yes, actually, that is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, because you just told me out there, like with my breast cancer, right? You said breast cancer somehow correlates to, or may correlate to grief. And I just thought to myself, yeah, you're right. Because it correlates to grief of you, grief of me. Or in my case, I had a double mastectomy, right? So it was literally grief of my body.
But then I'd also be curious, like, how much of other people's things were you holding on to and not expressing and not, like, letting out yourself, that you just held on to everybody else's stuff in addition to your own stuff?
I'm sure a ton. I don't know if I've told this story on the show, but this is where you're going. And you can share with me maybe my own situation. When I was going through cancer, I went to cancer therapy, right? And I had a therapist. And my spouse had a therapist. And the therapist asked me, how often do you see yourself wandering into space, right? And I said, not very much. I think I'm fine. I don't know. In a separate room, separate everything, they asked my spouse, how often do you see T wandering into space? He said, all the time. She's always out of here. She's always on another planet. And maybe that's what you're saying to me, like this, I held so much in that he could see it, but I couldn't even see it for myself.
And you were disassociating.
And I was in another land, he said. I was in another space and time, and I didn't even notice it myself. So I feel like when you're talking about this work and your mind, body, and your Reiki and your somatic work, and I also feel like when it's like making the gift of ancient wisdom, right? There is something to be said for this that we learned a long time ago, bridging that gap between what we know today. Right? So it's interesting, I think, about how that grows and how this work has grown into where we are today, right? I guess for people though, how would do they know that they need it? How would they, tell me more about how someone would say to themselves, like, I need to know who the heck I really am. You know what I mean? Because that confidence piece is hard to find.
Well, it's one of those, like, especially when people are dealing with illnesses or some sort of letdown, or as we mentioned, grief, right? Because I explain to people, grief is not necessarily like a death of a person, right?
Which is what people think about.
Right. Grief is like a loss, right? Grief, you could be grieving an identity. You could be grieving a career. You could be grieving all kinds of things. Grief is a loss that you are processing, right? So if you are dealing with these kinds of things and you don't know how to deal with them, and like you're just still trying to go with the flow of like everyday life and still throw yourself into all the things, right? You don't have time to process that grief. So then we're told to do A, B, and C from other people, but then it's like, who do you want to be? And what do you like? And what do you really want to do? And I think especially women, we put so many other people's needs before our own, and then we have a hard time realizing what our needs are until we get sick or until everybody else is taken care of, and then we feel, like, why isn't anybody thinking of me? But like, who are you at the core before you're all those other titles? Because we get all these other titles and forget who we are.
And we take on all those other titles. I wrote down here, who are the candidates for these practice and what conditions can these methods offer healing from? And what I hear you saying is, goodness, almost anybody can be a candidate.
Everybody.
For some way or another, right? It doesn't have to be what we traditionally think, like to your point. Like grief is not always about someone passing away, right? It could be about a job. It could be about your career. It could be about a loss in so many other ways that we, men or women, right, hold on to and take in. And that's when I hear people say, almost like stress is in us. right? And we need to, what I hear you saying is we need to release that stress and we need to understand that our body can work on this stress. And then these chakras in our body, I guess, are like the center of this component. Is that what you would say?
They're energy centers.
Energy
so like
centers.
we have the physical component, and then we have the energetic / emotional component too.
Okay. And how do you, as a therapist, I guess, dissect that for us? Like say, okay, like how do you give us solutions, I guess is my next question. Like how would you say, give us solutions on how to find whether it's physical, whether it's mental? How can you even feel that from somebody?
Well, it depends. A lot of times, like if people are coming in with a complaint about some physical pain, right?
Okay.
So my foundation, like I mentioned, was massage therapy.
Yeah.
But before massage therapy, I am the youngest of my family.
Okay.
I was the crybaby of the family. I was not in a family of criers. So in hindsight, I felt everybody else's everything, right? And then I absorbed all of their everythings, which makes sense that I decided to go the route I went and become a healer myself. But people come in, say they have shoulder pain, right?
Yeah.
Especially women. And the emotions behind shoulder pain are overwhelm. So like when you think about it,
I'm like this right now. I'm like, oh yeah.
Like it's the weight of the world on your shoulders, right?
Yes.
So then there's just other emotional components with those things too. So like back pain, for instance, which if you think about it, a lot of people with depression have back pain.
Okay.
They go hand in hand more often than not. And back pain is associated with lack of support.
Oh, that makes sense too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like your spine holds you together. And so it's just like bridging those emotional components with the physical components and like bringing that awareness to it. And then once you bring that awareness to it, okay, like, oh, wow, yeah, now that you mentioned that, I don't have any support.
Because you just said it to me and I'm like, carry the one, divide by two. You know, I'm getting it, right? Like, I feel like I totally understand that because I think about having the weight of the world on my shoulders. Now, I do have support. But I also think that sometimes it's up to me to lean on that support, which
and ask
I may
for
not
it.
do.
Right.
I have it
because you've been conditioned to not express your needs.
Yes, I have it, but do I ask for it and do I use it?
Exactly.
And that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
You know,
which is throat stuff.
Right. Which is all this, whatever. I think this is allergies, but it is not probably. It all comes together, right? It all comes together. Now, tell me, because I'm reading this about your SHINE method that you created. So a 5-pillar framework that's built around support, holistic, healing, influence, nurturing, and evolution. Tell me a little bit about that method and how I can use it. So how we can use it.
Yeah. When I first started massage, right? 2011 massage up until like COVID years were happening, right? And then nobody was massaging. And then I started doing more of my energy healing. I was doing more of my energy teaching because I teach Reiki too. And I was like, what are all these things that I'm teaching and sharing with my work? And all of it tied in that emotional, energetic, spiritual, physical connection. And then I was like, oh, this is all like what I'm doing, all the content I'm creating, all of the education that I'm sharing is about these things. Like I'm sharing things on how you can get support. What does support look like for you? And then even like having my podcast, Who You Callin Holistic, was like sharing different holistic alternative methods to what people had going on instead of waiting for modern medicine, which is a whole other ordeal, especially during the pandemic, right? When nobody trusted anybody.
And you couldn't hardly get to it.
Right. So like, what are ways that we can lean into some of the holistic methods of things? It doesn't have to be everything. I'm not going to say go, drink some tea for a heart attack. Like, there's a time and a place. And then with those things, like knowing that you can lean into those things, like what impact and influence can you have on others by leaning into more of what you know and who you are. And then like the nurturing element, which is the massage stuff. It's the energy healing. It's the also community aspect, right? And then the E for the evolution is just like, yes, you have this information. Yes, you have these tools, but these things are always evolving, right? Even like the way news is shared now, it's always evolving. The way we approach our bodies, that's even more evolved now. So like it's all of those things together to like understand that we need all of these elements in the work that we do and how we show up.
Now you talked about, I want to go back to Who You Callin Holistic because to me, when I think about who you call holistic, I'm thinking there's a lot of misconception.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I'm like, who are you calling holistic? What are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the misconceptions? Because I do believe that there are some misconceptions on holistic healing.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, like this whole vice versa of holistic healing versus what do you call modern medicine, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then people saying, I don't necessarily believe in holistic healing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All that. So what are some of the misconceptions that people have out there about holistic healing that we should clear up? Because I think, like I said, for me, I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself how much more I could use of it. Now, I've had some of it, but there's so much more I can go. But what are some misconceptions I think the world needs to clear up about it?
I think there's just this assumption that you have to do one or the other.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of like, don't rely on just one or the other.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to promote, go the holistic route if you can.
Yeah.
But for things that people are dealing with, especially chronic illness, chronic conditions, things that have been going on for so long, starting tea every day isn't going to necessarily do what you need, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have other modalities, other tools for your toolkit, as I like to say. And like, perhaps that might start with some blood work from modern medicine, right? Or that might require some sort of labs that you need, or some sort of assessment from somebody else that isn't necessarily in the holistic world. And a lot of those practices are bridging together now too.
Okay.
So there are a lot more like integrative health care centers and integrative medicine practitioners. But that's still evolving and it's still, that takes time, especially what's happening with like people's understanding of health and people not trusting what's going on with insurance and, like just the shenanigans people have to deal with. So people are taking more control of their own health and like how to approach it. And that starts with that self-autonomy and like understanding that you do have control of these things, right? And you don't have to rely on an authority to tell you, like, this is what you need. Like, you can take that advice too, but you also should be familiar with your own needs before getting other people's advice on your needs.
You should advocate for yourself. Yeah. And you should intertwine these things. Yes. And I think, to your point, like, I think I'm selfishly learning about myself through this whole conversation, by the way.
As you should.
I'm sharing.
You can teach more.
I'm
sharing
teach
more
too,
from that.
But selfishly, because I'm thinking to myself, like, one of the things I need to do better at, full transparency, is like I told you before, with cancer, double mastectomy, and I've also had open heart surgery. And so when I think about, I need to get more acupuncture, I need to get more massage because of this.
Overwhelm.
And you mentioned, well, just posture. Posture in general from having these surgeries has me like this, but also because of being overwhelmed. So it's like both things can help me. Like if I get acupuncture, potentially the somatic work, Reiki, all these things, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Can help me like support-wise, physically and mentally is where I'm going with that. Where I'm going with that for myself. It's like, oh, this is just a good reminder that I need to stay on top of these practices and not to, like you said, disregard an oncologist. That's not what I'm saying. But put them together.
But even in saying that, like you're mentioning, you can still do acupuncture and these other practices. You can also just, like you just made yourself aware of your posture, right?
Yeah, it's like...
Start practicing more posture awareness, right? Like, oh, I'm slumped. Let me sit up a little more. Like, it starts with that awareness first, right? And then once you're more aware of it, then it's like, oh, maybe I need a little more support here from somebody else that has more experience in this, right? Yeah. And maybe I need a little more of a team on this thing because I'm still not great at it and I still need some more support getting to where I want to be with it. Yeah,
or just, like you said, support and encouragement. Sometimes it's just about encouragement. And that was the other question I had. Can we practice these things at home, in our workplaces, and in our lives? Yeah. And you just told me, like, because there's a girl at my gym, and if she hears this, she'll know who she is. Her posture is, like, amazing. And she's always what I call zipped up, you know? And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, how does she do that every day? But I think I asked her one time, and she's like, no, I just practiced it.
And it doesn't happen overnight. And like we expect things to happen immediately because that's what we're sold in America. Like take a pill, get instant results. But like, no, these things are regular practices. And to your point about gym stuff, even when you think about the energetics of going to the gym, the energetics of physical fitness, a lot of that work is strengthening your core, strengthening, which is your emotions. Like those are housed in your gut. But it's also your discipline and willpower. So going to the gym by default is strengthening your confidence. Yeah. So like the other things are just minor adjustments from there as well. So your posture, all of that. But if you have a weak core, your posture's already at a deficit, right? Yeah.
And you would have a weak, I know core, but center. Center of, could potentially a center of life. Yeah. Is what I mean by that. Yeah. Right? So I think about, I'm learning, like I said, I think about that center of life and how your core, physical core, is connected to your emotional and mental core in your center. And I think that's interesting because I was telling you before, like the gym is my sanity. It's definitely like a physical component of my world. And I love health and fitness and love to share that with others. But at the same time, it's really a mental part of my world too. Like it's a mental game. And surviving cancer, mental as much or if not more than physical. And I used to see people and I used to think, oh man, this is a mental game too. And how some of these practices could help us get through not just the physical part of cancer or any, like you said, chronic illness, but the mental part too.
Yeah. Well, our emotions are stored in the gut. But even like when people aren't addressing gut health and they are on all the antidepressants or whatever other things they have going on, they're not addressing their gut. And again, that it starts at the core. So if you're not addressing, like if you're not going to the gym, if you're not adjusting your diet, if you're not starting there with a lot of these practices, you're still going to be not where you want to be.
It's crazy how you have to just you have to really get a hold of you.
And then you have to decide like where to start too, because it can't be everything, right? Like you said, like your thing is the gym, and now you're like, oh, I want to do better.
But we want it to be everything all at once.
That's not how it works. We can't. Like especially if we're conditioned to be doing things the way that we've been doing for so long, it doesn't change overnight. So like, like even in this conversation today, now you're like, oh, I'm more aware of my posture. Yeah. So now it starts with posture, right? But then you slowly start rolling the other things into your life. Like, oh, you know what? Like maybe I do need a little more water in my daily routine. Maybe I do need a little more posture awareness or like practices, rolling my shoulders back, like whatever the case, right? And then again, you start adding other elements, more community, more support with like strengthening those other energy centers or physical components that you still need help with.
There's so much, so little time. Yeah. But it can be done.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm going to take, a lot of things I'm going to take home from this, but that I need to start doing some of these things on my own.
And it starts with you.
And I think people don't think about that either because we think we need to come to you. And then we're like, how do I get to her? And can I get to her? And I think we should get to you, but we also need to make sure that we're doing some of this stuff at home so we can address some of this stuff, for ourselves, right? And put in there. Because I also think about the gym when I think everything's going back. But I think when people come to train with me, right, which is I'm assuming similar to you, is that someone will come into you and they'll be like, you know what, we're with her an hour a week. But what do you do the other 9 million hours?
Exactly. I can only do so much. Yeah. What are you doing? Like, are you stretching at home? Yeah. Are you going for a walk from time to time? Like, there's other things that you can do for yourself because as much as I would love to take your money to help you, I can only do so much.
Yeah, like what are you doing the other 15 million hours of the week?
And like you shouldn't rely on me for what you need, right?
Right, but we do.
Right.
But people do.
Yeah, and it's just the same with healthcare. Yeah. It's the same, and like that's what we've been conditioned to believe. We have to go to another person for what we need, and that's not always the case. The support, yes, we need community, we need support. That is not my point. Like, we need that element. Yeah. But the other things, like, we can start working on them ourselves.
Ooh. Ooh. Now I'm back in my little shell. I'm back in my little, don't make me do the work. It's so much easier to just be over here in my own little shell.
It is. But both can coexist, too.
I know. But now I'm in the space, I'm like, okay, T, you gotta, we've all, not just me, right? And I'm sure you do your own work for yourself, Like you said, you moved here and it's just, that's a lot of work in itself, just coming from a different space and, kind of, seeing how Chicago is different, from where we both moved from. Yeah. So I think so I guess just, following up, I want to ask you, like, what's next? What's next for Shine? What's next for you? What's next in your practices? And I'm going to ask you one more question, but we're going to get to that. And where can people find you, and how can they get to your work, most importantly?
One of the things that I really missed what I was doing in South Carolina was I had such an already good community from just practicing there for years, right? Because I started with massage, and then I evolved into the sound healing and other like in-person experiences and sessions and events. So I wanted to do more of that here, but I didn't have that community yet here, right? So that's growing, that's developing. So I'd love to have more in-person events, not just like sound healing events and stuff, but I would put together other things. Like I had a tea party in South Carolina, but it was great for like sisterhood and like conversation and that community element, right? And I think like especially this year, what we're seeing happening, like we need those community elements in person though, right? Not online, not Zoom. We need these things in person. Yeah. We need to be around one another with like-minded people in order to make things happen that we want to make happen, right? So more in-person events, more community-driven things, more just sharing like you do, sharing other people's stories and like providing other tools for people's toolkits so that they can have those things to add to theirs. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
I'm Sheanah everywhere. Sheanah.com. I'm really easy to find. I'm Sheanah on Instagram, TikTok, all the places.
All the things, all the places. Okay, Sheanah. This is our last question. It's not on here.
Okay.
Close it all up.
Okay.
I ask everybody this question. A little bit of backstory. I have these two little cats that I save in my backyard. Long story. Shadow of midnight. Yeah. So with that, curiosity in the cats, what is Sheanah curious about?
Ooh, there's so much. But in particular, I'm really curious about like the dream world.
Okay.
Like I don't think we know nearly enough about getting into the dream state, where we go when we're dreaming, like what we experience when we're dreaming. I want to know more about the dream world.
How are we going to find out more about that?
I'm not sure yet. Like I know that they're doing things. I know they're doing things. Like they have developed technology to.
I mean, I believe we can. I'm just asking, like, what are they doing?
I know that, especially with the advancement of AI, I'm sure there is something that's available. But like, I want to know more about where we go and what happens to our mind and body when we dream.
But I feel like this connects to the work you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But like, I don't know. I don't even know how to get more. I mean, I can read about it, right? But like, sure, I can do all the reading. I want to see the tools now. Like, and I want the tools on me to see like, where did I go in my dream last night? Like, did I meet other people that I knew? Did they know about me? You know, like, are we meeting people? Like, how would I know that I met them? You know?
Are you one of those? Because I do this sometimes when I have a dream. I look it up and say, what does that mean? And then I'll try to put it like, wait, was I thinking about? Sometimes it was just I watched a scary movie and I'm scared. And other times it was like, oh no, I'm really in something right here.
Or it's like a prophetic something, and then I see it unfold later, right? So like, what does that mean in a dream state? Like, how do some people have that availability and access in their dreams? And I know it's a thing that I'm sure you could develop and practice, right? But like, how do we get there? How do people already know that they have that? Or like, they're doubting it, and like, how do they strengthen it, right?
This is a whole nother conversation, but I'm going to ask you this. I know this is not on here, and usually this is a short question, but do you ever go to sleep, dream something, and be like, man, put me back to sleep so I can finish the dream?
Yes. I had one. I was telling somebody out there, I had one of those the other night. I woke up and was still not right all day because I still felt like I was in the dream world from the night before, and I was like, where did I go? Yeah, because I still had like residual from it. So again, I was
I want to go back to it. Like I want to go back to sleep and put me back in the same space.
So then maybe I can ask those questions too. Like where am I?
Yeah, but you can't go for whatever reason. I have not been able to figure out how to.
But some people can. Some people have like a sequel dream. Like they go back to sleep and pick it right back up.
Because I wish I could do that so many times where I'm like, oh, I need to go.
I'm
back
sure you could. Dream. Like I'm sure there's a way to strengthen that. See what I mean? Like I'm sure there's a practice for it.
Or I don't want to go back into the dream, and sometimes I land back in it. But most of the time, it's I want to go back into it and finish it out. All right. Well, when you figure that out,
I'll let you know.
Call me ASAP because I need to figure out how to get back in some of my dreams.
I'll let you know.
Okay, one more time. Sheanah on all platforms. Yeah.
All platforms.
Your podcast?
Who You Callin Holistic.
Great. This is the Terran Lamp Show. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you know someone who would love to be on the show, I'd love to hear from them. Get in contact with me. I am TerranL on social media. And if you'd like to be on the show, I'd love to have you too. Thanks a lot. This is the Terran Lamp Show. Be good to yourself and each other.